Chapter 6. Sunday, early morning. The next morning, Doreen woke groggy and tired. After all the excitement, Doreen's head bashing by Penny and the nerve-wracking visit with Scott, Doreen's body was just worn out. She lay here for a long moment, cuddling Muggs, who leaned against her belly, his legs stretched out in front of him. Goliath was curled up on the pillow beside her, and as soon as she moved, his engine kicked in with a huge guttural roar. She smiled and petted him, looking around for Thaddeus, who was on a cardboard box now. "I'm sorry, Thaddeus. I need to get you a roost up here, don't I?" His claws needed to be wrapped around something in order to sleep properly. He could curl up on her shoulder, but she felt that, on a mattress or something soft, he didn't do as well. He really needed places for his feet to firmly grip, and now that the four-poster bed had been taken away, that was a problem. She felt horribly guilty. "You've done so much for me," she said, "and here I haven't done anything for you." The closet door was open, and she could see the hanging closet rod. "Maybe I can figure out how to make you a freestanding rack." Thaddeus gave a mild squawk, shifted his position, and let his head drop again. She got up slowly and headed for a hot shower as memories of all her research from the previous night filtered into her brain. "Crystal, if you're out there and if you're alive, I'm coming for you," she said, sending out her intentions to the world at large. "If you're dead, I'm so sorry, but I'm coming after your killer then." Crystal had been taken from a fairly middle-class to affluent neighborhood several miles away. The house was built into a hill, and her bedroom was on the hill's high side, her window accessible to the ground. And that was where Doreen figured the fault of the parents lay. But of course, nobody ever expected a child to disappear overnight and to never be seen again. Doreen had found a transcript of the TV show and had printed it off but had yet to read it. She figured she'd do that with her early morning coffee. After a long hot shower to loosen up her sore muscles, taking good care of her sore head and her stitches, she stepped out, dried carefully, finding that just bending to dry her legs and feet had her head pounding. She put on a loose t-shirt and leggings, and then padded downstairs with the animals at her heels. Except for Thaddeus. He was crooked into his favorite place at the corner of her neck and shoulder. Downstairs, she went through the ritual of once again putting on coffee, one of the most comforting routines in her world. She smiled at that realization. Then she placed Thaddeus on the table, gave him extra seeds because he was feeling poorly and because he'd had a bad night, and then proceeded to feed the rest of her animals. She wrote down on a notepad, "Purchase something for Thaddeus to roost on." She still had the one roost in the living room and that was fine, but he needed another one upstairs too. It wouldn't hurt to have a few hanging around, maybe even a swing or something he could sit on. She'd have to look at the pet stores as soon as she got some of this money cleared, to see if she could find something meant for birds like him. She wasn't sure how to attach stuff, but she found the internet to be a wild and wonderful place, along with YouTube videos, something she had never had the time or a chance or opportunity to explore in the past. As she sat there, she remembered the cash from the car parts. After going to the kitchen and getting it, she counted it, then tucked it into her purse. It was too big a wad for her wallet. As she checked her wallet, and there was the $500 from Nan. For the second time in many, many months, she felt absolutely wealthy. With a comfortable sigh, she sat back and said, "You know what, guys? We haven't done too badly. We haven't done too badly at all." She poured coffee, made herself a piece of toast, and found the leftover muffins from Nan. With a second cup of coffee, she opened up the back door and sat out on the deck with the transcript pages she'd printed off. She took a pen with her and highlighted the items of interest. 8-year-old disappeared during the night, nobody heard anything. The window was on the shadowy side, and they had a large fern bed. Footprints were found across the grass but only had slight indentations. And there had been an oddly shaped footprint in the ferns too. There had been photos online, but she had been too tired to study them last night. She read through the rest of the transcript to see what happened during the abduction. Parents were home, Crystal was an only child, had lots of friends, appeared to be loved by everybody, and of course, as always, there were no suspects. Doreen wondered at that, then figured it was probably the standard dribble the police said to the media. With that read, she walked back inside, grabbed her laptop, came outside again, and brought up the photos, but it was a bright sunny morning, so it was hard to see them. She went back inside, sat at the kitchen table with her third cup of coffee, and looked at the images. The footprints were small with an odd point at the end. Of course, at first glance, it almost looked like a high heel mark, only it was bigger than that. She shrugged and moved on. And then went back to it, thinking about something else Mac had said the other night when she came home from the hospital. But she couldn't recall what it was, something about having seen the same footprint again. With nothing else to do, she picked up the phone and called him. "Good morning," he said. "How are you feeling?" "Like somebody ran me through one of those old washing machines, and I came out flat and without energy on the other side." "I told you," he said sympathetically, "that your head wound is nothing to kid about. You had nothing but more stress in the afternoon." "But good stress," she said gently. "I just went through the case files of what I have on Crystal's disappearance," she said. "And I remember you mumbling something about how you were excited to find the same footprint." At first, there was silence on the other end of the phone. In an odd tone, he asked, "You remember that, do you?" "Absolutely I do," she said, "so don't try to tell me that I didn't." "It was on the way home from the hospital." "Yes, we have another case," he said. "It has a similar looking footprint," he added for emphasis. "But that doesn't mean it's the same." "No," she said, "and that first footprint doesn't reveal very much." "What do you see when you look at it?" "I see the spike of a high-heeled shoe," she said, "but obviously it isn't." Mac paused, then asked, "Why would you say that?" "Because it's too obvious," she said. "If you're stealing a child, would you wear high heels? That's hardly the best footwear for packing off an 8-year-old. Plus, it was dark and she had to climb a hill. That's not easy in heels either." But of course, the police would look at that and think some woman was looking for a child of her own. Also, the hole is bigger than a heel spike. "Interesting," he said thoughtfully. "I mean, obviously we had to consider that it might be a woman. But I don't believe we ended up with that suspicion. But the footprint never made any sense to us." "Of course not," she said. "And this new case?" "I can't tell you anything about it," he said, his voice businesslike and official. She rolled her eyes, knowing it was too bad he couldn't see her, and asked, "If you could see me right now, what do you think I'm doing?" He laughed. "You're rolling your eyes at me and making a face." "You know me too well," she said, chuckling. "And why can't you tell me anything about the new case?" "Because it might be connected." "Nope, can't be," she said, "otherwise you'd have an Amber Alert out. So therefore no missing child." "How very right you are," he said. "In this case, we found the footprint, and we found some things missing from a child's bedroom. But the child is still there. So it's not a missing child, it's missing children's things, and the only evidence you have is the fact that some items are gone, and this similar footprint?" "Yes," he said, "and that's all I can tell you."